Hi everyone, and welcome to TWF Dynamite, or Might. I am Michael Cole, here with Tony Schiavone and with Taz. And today on Dynamite, or Might, we're getting very near to WrestlePalooza, which I believe is some Spanish borrowed word, or some Intelish borrowed word of some kind, or some Hellenish borrowed word. The English word might be madness. Yeah, we're getting very near to that show, Tony Schiavone said, which was a old ECW Yield show back in the day, which had become WrestleMania, WrestleMadness, to the toy wrestling gathering, Tony Schiavone said. You got that right, Taz said. The match we're having on that show is going to be Mora from Disney's Mora taking on MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, for the TWF heavyweight and world heavyweight winnings, which I always think I think he's a truly good fighter. I think he's a truly good fighter. That's just my belief. I got no truth to back it up. Well, we do know one thing. Michael Cole said Autolycus, the King of Thieves, is coming to the ring now. Yeah, well, we just saw him wrestle yesterday, Tony Schiavone said, on NXT against The Miz, and The Miz beat him in that match. Yes, he did, Taz said. So why is he out here for? Why is the King of Thieves out here for? So, Miz, you want to know if me starting something with you or beginning something with you has to do with Xena? It does not. Now you get to deal with me now. I took 2 losses to the so-called wrestler show player. And why do I call you a so-called wrestler and show player is that, yeah, you're a wrestler, Miz, but to call you a show player, well, I don't know. Yeah, you got your start in the real world, the true world. That MTV show or that song Farseer Folkwork show. It was more like true Farseer. I don't know if you can truly call it show playing or not. The only true show playing you ever did, Miz, was when you started being in the WWE films, The Marine. Even though that's more like a French borrowed word, the English word might most likely be what? Water fighter? Anyway, yeah. You took over a film which was started by John Cena and Ted DiBiase younger, and somehow you kept playing a self over and over again to your last film with Shawn Michaels playing someone. Oh, Becky Lynch was in that film too. Anyway, so-called show player. And then you behave like a creep, a bully, a heel, and you got everyone believing, oh, well, that's how all show players, fighters, wrestlers, and other football players and other sportsmen and well-known folks behave like. Bullshit. Some folks are creeped, some folks are not. Miz, you want on look? You gotta give on look. And since you're not giving any on look, no one's going to give you on look. And you can talk about how you think you're so more greater than everyone else because somehow you left Cleveland, Ohio for one Rikes, and now you live in Los Angeles land, California's land for one Rikes. Oh, you're so great because now you're this well-known on wrestler, show player. But at the end of the day, Miz, you're still being a bully and a heel and a creep. It's like nothing's good enough for you. So why don't we come out here and we settle this? Well, Autolycus, you were talking about onlook, the Miz says, but if there was anything onlooking, you would at least started saying shit about me before I came out here. Yeah, it's true. I started out as a show player. I don't know if you can call true farseer show playing or not. I'll let that go. Yeah, I started show playing in many of WWE's films over the years. I was in the films longer than John Cena and Ted DiBiase Younger was. Yeah, I am a well-known wrestler that no one gave two shits about back in the day. When I came from UPW to OVW to WWE, no one believed in me. No one could stand me. No one really thought I would do anything great. They're like, oh yeah, look, you're a UPW heavyweight fighter. Oh look, you're the OVW tag team fighter. You're the DSW heavyweight fighter. Good, whatever. Hey, after I started winning the WWE tag team winnings many times with the Big Show, the WWE with John Morrison, many other teammates, WWE heavyweight winnings 2 times, almost a 6-time WWE, a 8-time WWE Interlando fighter, 2-time WWE 4-1 rights fighter. But you see, Miz, after all that you've done and your whole time, you stopped giving on look. You started getting this belief that everyone who was shitty to you, both in UPW, OVW, DSW, WWE, you somehow believed that if they're going to be shitty to me, then I'm going to be shitty to them, and then I'm going to be shitty to the ones that are watching the show, ones yielding their good gal to watch the show, and then you wonder why you don't get no onlook from anyone. Either that's yourself that you play, the way you've been booked and written since you come into WWE, I think as early as 2005 YL. You know, I'm not going to take away all the things you did in WWE, but until you start giving on look, Miz, you're not going to get on look. Well, I can tell you one thing, Autolycus. No one's going to give you on look. You still. Oh yeah, I still, Autolycus says. Yeah, I know, stilling's sinful, stilling's unlawful. I've heard of that all the time. Oh, I'm a sinner. I'm an outlaw for stilling, yes. But at least, Miz, I know all about giving on look to get on look. And you're not going to get on look until you give on look, Miz. So, why don't we do our match now? There's the Fight Lord. Ding, ding, ding. Well, Michael Cole said, it looks like Autolycus has had enough with the Miz. Autolycus just knocking down the Miz with his weapons in his hand. Well, Hawking out, and you know Tony Schiavone said, over a sticky ooze is what keeping one of that tool in his hand. Keeping the blade in his hand, because it doesn't keep in his hand anymore. Autolycus taking down the Miz. The King of Thieves is taking down the Miz, Michael Cole says. Yes, he is, Tony Schiavone said. Autolycus has also been known for his wrestling, even though he spent most of his time either being on the Heracles show or the Xena show, Tony Schiavone said. Oh yeah, we all know Bruce Canville. He played Autolycus. He'd go on to play Jack Styles in Jack of All Trades. He would play Ashley Williams in the Evil Dead films and the Farseer show. He'd play County Barn. He would play in the County Barn Jr. show. We know all the shows he's been in. Oh, and Autolycus should not be the man talking about onlook when he's a thief, Taz says. Well, now Autolycus is going to get ready to do the Autolycus Stunner on the Miz. The Miz is going to lose here. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. Here is your winner, Autolycus, the King of Thieves. Well, it looks like Autolycus has beat The Miz here today on Dynamite or Might. And at the end of the day, he's got no one to guilt, only himself, for losing here today to Autolycus, the King of Thieves. Say what you want, say what you want to say, Michael Cole says. But Autolycus was right about the whole onlook thing. Until you give onlook, you're not going to get onlook. Michael Cole said. You got that right, Tony Schiavone said. Until you give onlook, you're not going to get onlook. No need what you have done in your life. There's a lot of folks in this world that get onlook for things they do, but they give onlook too. Well, you got that right, Taz says. But The Miz has been always asking for onlook, and even when The Miz gives onlook, it doesn't seem to be good enough, Taz says. Well, that seems to be one man's belief on the whole thing. Right now, Gorilla Monsoon is now going to be talking with Autolycus, the King of Thieves. Alright, I'm going to be talking with Autolycus, the King of Thieves, here today on Dynamite or Might. Alright, Autolycus. We do know that thievery is not something to be onlooked. It is something to be shamed for, because being a thief is sinful and unlawful. Yes, I know that I'm a sinner and an outlaw by being a thief. I know it's sinful and unlawful. But I do know something about onlook. You see, The Miz, Gorilla Monsoon, is a man that has come from the bottom to the top. But he seems never to get any onlook for anything he does. And sadly, he never gives onlook to anyone. He likes to behave as if him being a wrestler, show player, somehow everyone should onlook him. But at the end of the day, what has The Miz ever done? Does he ever give onlook to anyone? I don't think he ever did. I think his forgiveness is that no one ever gave him onlook, either in the show playing business or in the wrestling business. So since no one ever gave him onlook, he feels he should never give anyone else onlook. He guilts everyone, not only his fellow wrestlers or fighters or show players, but he guilts the onlookers. The seers, the watchers, guilts them. But then again, I think that's only a self that he plays. You could be right about that, Autolycus. I think that's the self that he plays. The show player wrestler who never seems to get any onlook, no need what he says and what he does. But at the end of the day, I think that this whole thing between you and him has nothing to do with onlook. It does have to do something with onlook. You see, The Miz can't handle being scathed for his behaviors. He seems to get it into his head that since now he's a well-known wrestler and show player, he seems to believe that he no longer can be scathed for anything he says or does. Well, Miz, if you can't handle being scathed, then you shouldn't be scathing others. Well, that's my talk with Autolycus. Back to you, Michael Cole and Tony Schiavone. Well, thank you, Gorilla Monsoon, for talking with Autolycus, the King of Thieves, here today on Dynamite or Might. And that's all the time we got here for Dynamite or Might. I am Michael Cole for Tony Schiavone and Taz. We hope you like Dynamite or Might, and we'll see you tomorrow for Impact on XS TV or Smash It Inside Farseer.